This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
It's a couple 13-14 pass. Here you go. I don't know if today's montage created goosebumps for people, if it gave them a little bit of hope, if they just feel like it's more of some type of a rash with Avatar. There's a few people that thinks this one says, that's it. I'm using my wish to wish it was time for the boom on Sunday. The montage was perfection. The song is certainly appropriate. It's time to turn this thing around right now. The Vikings on a 2-game losing streak. They're 3-4. If the playoffs were to begin today, they're done so. They're not in. They have one of the toughest schedules. I think maybe percentage-wise, they have the toughest schedule. I'm going to look at a story that I stumbled across up on my handheld computer, which doubles as a communication device. And it lists the teams. I think they did this with Halloween in mind. By the way, tend to be Happy Halloween. I'm
a Halloween guy.
With a Halloween guy, with Halloween in mind, they said the 5 teams with the scariest remaining schedules, and the Vikings certainly are there. Their quarterback, some would say he's wearing a Halloween costume. He's masquerading as an NFL quarterback. He has not played particularly well in the 8 quarters that he's played. He had one really good one. He was really good against the Bears, though. You know, you think I'm negative. Somebody sent me, when I brought that up earlier in the week, somebody sent me a text message courtesy of the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line that said, well, the Bears' defense was exhausted by that point. So, I don't know, maybe there was something to that. I don't know. Guys get tuckered playing in the National Football League, especially big, dopey linemen that are rushing the passer. You do that down after down after down, I suppose you do get a bit tuckered, spent, as it were, winded. But whether that had anything to do with it or not, I don't know. I just know that he played pretty well, and they came back and won. And I'll still remember that day after the game news conference. The coach had a pep in his step. There was a what's the word I'm looking for? He was very animated. There was some pep in his step and in his cadence. He was very happy. I mean, and you can see why. The game for the first 3 quarters was not good for the Vikings, and then the hand-picked quarterback was really good in that 4th quarter. So good that he won the NFC Offensive Player of the Week award. And so I'm assuming the coach thought, and I think I fell into the trap a little bit too, Tenneby. Look, when you're 22 years old and you're playing in your very first National Football League game, there's going to be butterflies, there's going to be nerves. The game is played at a faster level in college. It's a big moment for anybody, right? In hockey, they let a guy making his debut. You don't like to skate around the rink before the game. I think you told me. I love. I
think it was like great the first time I saw it.
I just
now
think
it's just yeah.
But every guy does it just for the first time. I think it's one of the. I didn't know they did that until you brought it up, or whenever I became aware of it this year. I think it's one of the greatest traditions ever. I think it's cool that they say your very first time you're going to play in the NHL, you go out on the rink by yourself and skate around. So I kind of like it. They don't do that in the National Football League, as far as I know. But you knew that it's. I don't look. I don't have a list in front of me of every quarterback in his NFL debut and how well they've played. But my guess is he's the first rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League in his initial start to be named Offensive Player of the Week. I just can't think it happens very often. And maybe it has, and I just don't know because I don't have a list in front of me. So
now there also wasn't a lot of good competition that week.
I know, but I know, but I'm just making the point. Yeah. As all I'm saying is I'm just trying to get to the next segment.
I was trying to add stuff to get into the next segment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's I don't think it's ever happened as far as I know in the National Football League. So I can see why the coach, the team, maybe the player himself, fans, media members like myself were encouraged, said, hey, he had a rough start, and all of a sudden, once the fourth quarter come, we brought it to JJ, and he was really good, and they won the game. And then, boy, all that goodwill sort of got just disappeared with just a really bad game against Atlanta, then the sprained ankle, and then the beating that Wentz took. And, Wentz, admirable. I mean, he was 2-1 in his first 3 games as a starter for the Vikings, and he lost the last 2, and then he basically lost the starting job due to injury for sure. I mean, I'm assuming that McCarthy was going to start this week regardless. That's what the coaches sort of seem to hint at that. Whether he really meant it or not, it's, hey, when he's healthy and ready to go, he's our quarterback. And so we'll find out this Sunday. Not the easiest way to, get back into it. One of the better teams in pro football, maybe the best team in the North. I don't know right now. The Packers could make an argument that they are because they have a better record than Detroit by half game, and they beat the Kitties earlier. But at Pontiac on Sunday with a team that had a bye and coming off a nice win, it's not the ideal situation, but you know what, Teneby, you go from the frying pan into the fire is what he's going to do. We'll take a closer look at the Vikings game on the other side of the break with Peek at the Purple. Then Lil B coming your way at 1 o'clock, a little feminine touch to the program. And then Program Password returns, and Teneby's booked a couple of heavyweights, 2 of the best Program Password players in the history of Program Password. Marnie Gellner. You
could argue the 2 best.
The 2 very best. Well, I think I'm not bad at it either. Marnie Gellner, we just call her Marnes. She'll join us. And then the maestro of the mornings, the Milton Bradley of the Fan, Corey Cove, will play Program Password as well. Teneby, you've got a keyword, I believe, right?
I do. The Fan and 2 men in a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Just enter the keyword GRAND at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That keyword is GRAND. Enter now at KFAN.com. Baby's crying, that's normal. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to step away. Never shake a baby. Shaking can kill, and 1 in 4 don't survive. Survivors often face permanent brain damage. Learn more and give today at nevershakemn.com.
Couple 13-14 pastime common he's Teneby. Time now for Peek at the Purple, brought to you by Affordable Electric. Remember, the holidays are right around the corner. Don't get overloaded outlets or old wiring ruin the fun. From GFCIs to lighting installs, Affordable Electric keeps your home bright, and safe all season long. Call before the first snow. They'll help make your holiday shine. Affordable Electric. Affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric.com. They are shockingly affordable. Well done, Teneby. We have a computer issue here, and you knew that, and you knew I wasn't going to be able to fire the negatrometer, and you did, and I appreciate that. Well done, young man. Welcome back to the spotlight. CBS Sports is one of my favorite websites. I find it on my handheld computer, which doubles as a communication device, and their staff does picks each week. Headline for CBS Sports: NFL Week 9 picks, odds, best bets. It says right out of the gate, Lions destroy J.J. McCarthy's Vikings. Seahawks send Commanders to 3-6. Here's what it says about the Viking game. It says, this is not a good spot for the Vikings. Not only are they on the road for the second consecutive week, but they are traveling to face the Lions, who are coming off their bye and have to start J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. If we are being completely honest, McCarthy hasn't looked like an NFL quarterback for 7 of his 8 quarters played. Yes, the comeback against the Chicago Bears was fun, but the loss to the Falcons was a disaster. Overall, McCarthy's averaging 152.5 passing yards per game and has scored 3 tutties compared to 4 turnovers in his 2 starts. To make matters worse, this Brian, if it wasn't bad enough already, this Brian Flores defense has been gashed by opposing quarterbacks over the past couple of weeks. Jalen Hurts registered a perfect passer rating against Minnesota a couple of weeks ago, and we saw what Justin Herbert did to them last Thursday night. The Vikings have allowed 32.5 points per game over the last 2 contests after allowing just 19.4 points per game in the first 5 games of the season. We don't have to convince you that the Lions are good. They once again appear to be one of the best teams in the NFC. So, nationally, certainly, and again, it's really not too difficult. I don't think anybody's going out on a limb by saying Detroit looks like, they're just a better team. At least at this point in time. The head coach of the Vikings has said he thinks organizations fail young quarterbacks more than young quarterbacks fail organizations. And I believe that he believes that. And I know that he said he doesn't really like being called the quarterback whisperer. He does not like that. But we did say in that interview that I've alluded to a couple of times that he did on Fox prior to the Eagles game, I believe it was. He said, but he does believe that this organization, and he's talking about himself, of course, and the quarterback room and the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator and all that. He believes they do a good job on developing quarterbacks. And, give him credit for Darnold, though I do think Darnold himself has said, being in that San Francisco organization for a year and going to a big game with them, albeit he was on the bench, he did not play. He was behind Brock Purdy. He learned a lot there. We've heard Danny Dimes say he did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and even though he didn't play for the Vikings, he was on the roster, but he did not play. He said it was night and day between what the Vikings do and what the Giants do. He's taken some cheap shots at his former team. So I think that the coach and the organization does do a nice job with quarterbacks, but it's the old, you got to have something there too. There just has to be. You can't. Yeah. I don't think I don't think he can just take anybody, any quarterback, put him in there, and the next thing you know, the guy's Sam Darnold. Darnold had a lot of talent. He was the 3rd pick overall. And when you see what happened with Darnold in his first two spots, it was the Jets, and who else did he play with?
Carolina.
Carolina. Maybe coaching and the organization does have something to do with it, because certainly Darnold did not play well in his first 2 stops. His 3rd, I don't think that really counts because, again, he rode the bench for the 49ers I don't know if he ever got in for a snap. He may have done
he played one game.
Yeah, he may have done mop-up duty or something like that, but certainly not anything to judge a guy by. So we'll see. I'm curious in the 5 weeks that he's been nursing a sprained ankle, the coaches also made the point that he thought that McCarthy would benefit from watching the way Wentz played quarterback, at least the one part of his play in that he gets rid of the ball quickly. He's not going to hang on to the ball forever. I think that was kind of McCarthy's problem. You see it with younger quarterbacks. They're trying to make plays, right? And I think sometimes, we saw Caleb Williams do it. How many times was he sacked last year? It was, I don't know if it was an NFL record.
Hundreds?
But yeah, hundreds. It sure seemed like it. And I think what happens with quarterbacks is they get a little, young guys get a little deer in the headlights, and they know, they want to make plays. And so sometimes I think instead of...
There's also a lot more to process, so you're not thinking as quickly as you need to.
Exactly. And so I think that happens to these young guys. And so maybe that happened to McCarthy a little bit too. And maybe he did learn something there. And of course, the coach he really talks about having the feet and the vision aligned. And again, they've worked on that a little bit with McCarthy. So,
You've been aligning your mic with your mouth with the microphone a lot more lately. I can tell the alignment is there for you.
Can you tell? Because sometimes I'll talk like this, but that's when I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. Right now I'm talking out of the right side of my mouth. Now I'm talking out of the left side. But I don't think there's anybody out there that's a Viking fan that doesn't want to see the kids succeed.
Sure.
I mean, it's
of course. We are desperate for a franchise quarterback.
Absolutely. And my guess is, there is some. You'll hear players all the time say, "You know what? I don't do social. I don't pay attention to anything anybody says." And I bet there are players that do tune out the social media stuff, and they don't read the websites. They don't listen to the radio. They just read the USA Today and the New York Times, and they listen to music, right? So I don't know if McCarthy's that kind of a guy, but I would think he has to know that. There's some pressure on him because he did not play very well in the Falcons game and for three quarters out of the Bears game. So, and against Detroit, the season hanging in the balance. I think a win here. I mean, a really good performance by McCarthy and an upset of the lines would sure change the outlook of this team, and I think the perception of the quarterback and the organization. But it's I think even Barney the Purple Dinosaur might even be having trouble picking the Vikings here, but we'll see what happens. You'll hear the game on this radio station. Coverage at 10 Sunday. Opening kickoff set for 2 o'clock. Peek at the Purple brought to you by Affordable Electric. For all of your electrical needs, affordable-electric.com. They are shockingly affordable. Have an email directed toward the Jolly Green Giant. And we'll see what his response is. We'll have that for you next. Common Man program on the Fan.
Aquarius Home Services has your shot at 4 tickets to see Green Bay take on the Purple in early January, plus $500 in game day cash. Register for your chance to win today on the KFAN contest page. That's KFAN.com/furnace to enter today.
Couple 13-14 past. I'm Common. He's Tenneby. Lil B joins us in less than a half hour. Feminine touch to the program. The Smoke Show from Glencoe. It is Halloween. A couple of last-minute Halloween costume ideas for you, Tenneby. Grab a towel. Get it completely soaking wet. Put it over your head and pretend it's Wednesday and go as the Common Man. Or take a wet towel, hang it on a fence so it can flop back and forth in the wind and go as Mark Rosen. A couple of nice ideas. It's a very versatile Halloween costume. Dress up as a restaurant that fires half of its staff, then fires the manager, and wonder why they can't find a new manager or new customers and go as the Minnesota Twins. Though they did find a new manager. So that's a done deal. Dress up as a car with the muffler hanging on by a thread, busted windshield, and a rusted frame with broken taillights and go as Carson Wentz. That would be appropriate. And then there's this one, Tenneby. This is the one I might choose. Dress up as a rock star from the 60s that no one's heard of and go as Warren's Super Bowl halftime show.
I always loved that
one. Did you see Sting was hired to do a pre-Super Bowl show?
Really?
Yeah. I think they got the message from Warren. You know what? Nobody's really talking about it until Warren did. It's sort of like, you remember when we had the Super Bowl here and then Rosen got invited to the Sting concert? At the Armory, it was for,
And then he acted like he was a Sting fan, probably?
Right. It was invitation only. That's what this is about. There's some kind of it's the day before the big game, like Saturday or Friday or someday during big game week, and Sting is going to perform. So,
would you want to see Sting? I don't think I would want to.
I mean, the Police can't stop you. I was never a big Police guy. A couple of songs were tone tappers.
Every breath you take, that's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
Roxanne is,
yeah. I
don't know if I could name any other Sting songs.
He did a song called Fields of Gold. I think it was a solo.
Yeah.
That's a good song. That's a really good song. But after that, I'm not a big Sting guy, but that's that too. Anyway. The other thing, by the way, one other Viking note before we get to an email that's been directed toward the Jolly Green Giant. not only does the offense, we need McCarthy in the offense to show some life. How about the defense? The defense, we talked about it when you were fixing the computer. I don't know if you heard the CBS Sports synopsis of the game. But, the Vikings have given up 34.5 points per game the last two games? I mean, the last two games, the defense has been non-existent. Hurts had a perfect quarterback rating. Herbert shredded them. And the Lions offense, they're pretty good, last I checked. So they're
really good.
So I think the Vikings, maybe a reversal of fortunes and a better defensive effort is maybe even more important than J.J. McCarthy in the offense putting points on the board. It's going to take...
both units have looked really bad.
Yeah, and both are going to have to play really good to beat a Detroit team at home.
It's football. Any given Sunday, things happen, right?
Correct.
Jahmyr Gibbs, first play of the game, could drop the ball on the carpet, and Jonathan Grenard can pick it up and run it home.
A
scoop and score, and all of a sudden you're up 7-0 in the moment. Like that happens.
Or we could intercept a pass and return for a tutty and then have it overruled. This is what happened last game when we looked like we were off to a nice start.
So things like that happen in football, but barring J.J. McCarthy coming up with some performance maybe that people aren't expecting, I'm not too encouraged with the preview of this game.
I tend to agree. This was actually an email that came to a comment at KFAN.com yesterday about 10:57 in the evening. What's the Jolly Green Giant have to say for Minnesota hockey being just awful? Wild lose again, fall apart in the third. Gophers lose bad again to the Badgers. That's 3 straight for the Gophers men's, giving up 12 goals in 3 games. Both the Wild and Gophers giving up 4 goals or more almost every time they touch the ice. This isn't feeling like the state of hockey, and are we getting closer to heads rolling? Gophers getting out-recruited, it feels like, and Guerin signing all these aging veteran contracts the last few years on average players who don't contribute offensively, and we are not stuck with. I don't know how much of that is accurate, how much you agree with there, but the Gopher, we talked about the Gophers earlier because I was kind of, I shouldn't admit working at the All Sports radio station that I oftentimes just skim stories, but I saw that the Gopher men's hockey team wasn't doing very well, and they seem to have a pretty good advantage. We are the state of hockey, and we know the woeful shortcomings and inadequacies of the Wild to this point. Do you think your Bobby Motzkos, your Bill Guerins, or the head coach of the Wild, John Hines, do you think any of these people aren't any danger? Should they be? What's the Jolly Green Giants thoughts?
I haven't been too close to the Gopher situation, so I'm not going to have as you can tell, I'm wearing my St. Tommy's shirt today. So that's the hockey team that I'm all about. As for the Wild, Micah Russo just kind of obliterated the team today in The Athletic. Russo and Joe Smith, I guess, combined on a story. And they're not in a good spot right now because they reportedly, before this homestand, did one of those, we're going to have individual meetings with our players and individual meetings with our leaders. Mm-hmm. And they've responded with 4 straight losses at home. And even after last night's game, Russo really went to town on the team after last night because a couple of them are ducking the media. So, after the game's over, they put numbers on the chalkboard in the Wild locker room. Those numbers are supposed to talk to the media.
Okay.
Well, reportedly, Kirill Kaprizov erased his number from the board, so he didn't talk to the media. And Jonas Brodin's number was on there. He didn't talk to the media. Now, Brodin, come to find out today, he's not practicing. So maybe he was injured and was in a training room somewhere, so that might be his excuse. But in the first 10 games of the year, when you're already having meetings with your players, and then on top of that, now you have players ducking media responsibilities, especially after you just earned a $17 million a year paycheck. Yeah. That's not a good sign. On top of just what we're seeing on the ice with our own eyes, the off the ice stuff is not encouraging. Like this thing could get out of hand here quickly. So I don't know how they repair this and mend this. It can change quickly, just like we see in the NFL. One play can change a game, and one game can change a season. But it could go in the wrong direction here very quickly because they've already put themselves in a big hole.
This text messenger defending...
And they're losing the same way every game, too.
Well, yeah, and again, it looked like... Did I read this right? Again, skimming the story. They actually scored first last night, right?
They did.
But that ended up not mattering because they gave up three. They gave up an empty... The fourth was an empty net one, I think. So, for all intents and purposes, it was a 3-1 loss, and then the empty net just adds to that. But
Tom Kelly once brilliantly said if you can pitch and play defense, you give yourself a chance to win the ball game. If you can make saves and play defense, you give yourself a chance to win the puck game, and we're not doing that.
A couple of people have rallied to the defense of the Gophers. It says, Common, the Gopher puck team lost 11 players last year to the pros. Hard to be great with with an all-new team. Motzko's a great coach and a great recruiter. And I'll have to take his word for it because, again, I'm not paying as close attention to Gopher hockey as I once did. And I think Motzko does do a nice job. I mean, I've never heard any real discouraging word. And I suppose if you go on, what do they call it, Gopher hole or whatever it is? When you go, I don't do it often, but sometimes on the Athletic or Fish Wraps West and East, I'll go ahead and I'll take a look at the message boards, and you get a lot of negativity there. I mean, you get plenty of it. There are people that just love going after the teams. And even then, I don't know if I've heard too many discouraging words about Motzko.
Well, here's the deal with the Gophers. When you take that job, expectations are sky high for the University of Minnesota. Whether that's right or not, that's the way it's been basically since I've been born. And is the emailer or texter correct that they have done relatively well under Motzko? They've made the tournament consistently. He's elevated the program from where it had gone to. And they did just lose a bunch of players. Logan Cooley just signed a 8 years, $80 million deal, Miguel Sano type deal the other day, and for the Utah Mammoth. So there are guys that are making the NHL and flourishing that have been under Motzko. But I would say when you're at the University of Minnesota, for hockey, you're not expected to have a good year and then we're going to drop off and we'll rebuild this thing in 2-3 years. That's just not how it works there. Like you're expecting competitive rebuilds at the University of Minnesota. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be winning national championships and going to the Frozen Four every year, but you're not ever expected to drop off, whether that's fair or not.
Well, you think the expectations are high here at the University of Minnesota. How about down at LSU? We know that the athletic director there, he's now the former athletic director, Scott Woodward, who was an LSU alum, fired Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly was lured away from Notre Dame. I think it was a 10-year, $100 million contract, an outrageous amount of money. And now Woodward has resigned under pressure 4 days after firing Brian Kelly. It's a day after Republican Governor Jeff Landry said Woodward would not hire Kelly's replacement, so politics becoming involved. LSU Board of Supervisors Chairman Scott Ballard said, "We thank Scott for the last 6 years of service as athletic director. He had a lot of success at LSU. Our focus now is moving the athletic department forward and best positioning LSU to achieve its full potential." What I find interesting is their expectations. You think that's why I brought it up. You think they're high at the University of Minnesota for hockey. If I'm not mistaken, and I had it here, and I had a couple of different stories about the LSU situation. I don't have the one that I want to mention now in front of me, so I might have these numbers wrong. But I think Woodward has been there 6 years. In those 6 years, Tenemy, LSU Athletics has won a national championship in football, 2 national championships in baseball, a national championship in women's basketball, and then I think they had another national championship in like crochet or knitting or something. I don't know what it was. But they have like 5 national championships in 6 years, and that's not good enough. And I think they must be annoyed that because I think he fired the head coach without any input from anybody. But isn't that the athletic director's job to make those decisions? I don't know. I don't know the machinations, and I don't know what the pecking order is or what the protocols are for firing coaches. But I'd like to look at the people at LSU as like, really? So do you expect to win a national championship in every sport every year? I mean, if the University of Minnesota under our current athletic director, any athletic director, in 6 years won a football national championship, 2 baseball national championship, and a women's national championship, and then a cornhole national championship. Well, that would be a lifetime contract.
He gets a statue.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The stadium becomes named after him.
The Mark Coyle Arena.
Yeah. And yet that's...
It'd be 3M Arena at Mariucci at Mark Coyle.
So, yes. And I like that. That's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
So I just roll my eyes, shrug my shoulders, and shake my head and say, good luck down at LSU. Because,
we thought our expectations for Gopher hockey was high.
Yeah, and that's why I just feel like I just think it's
Do we
funny.
know if the athletic director voted for the other candidate in the last election?
Well,
has publicly made his political views.
That might be a part of the issue as well. I don't know. Now, we just talked about the local hockey team and how much, they seem to be at a spot to me, like you say, if they don't do a Van Halen here pretty quick, the season's going to be lost. You could even say it's over already, but there's still some time. It's early enough in the season, but they need one of those, 13, 14 game. Remember when the Twins looked like they had rebounded last year? They got off to a really slow start, and then they won 6-7 in a row a couple of different times.
6-7.
They won 6-7 and 2 different times. Well, actually, it was all in a row. They won like 13, 14 games in a row, and then they went in the tank. But that's what the Wild need right now. Then there's this email that came in also on Thursday, but this came in the morning at 11:21. And it says Julius Randle, and then it has a quote he had from after the game the other night.
Okay.
We know we're a way better team than this. Everybody's frustrated. I'm not going to sleep tonight. I know that for a fact. It's frustrating, but we got to figure it out. And that's the end of the quote. And then the emailer, Paul, says, therein lies the problem, their mentality. When someone thinks they're way better and they're not until they do things in practice and in preparation before each game. What do they got to figure out by now? Pretty much the same roster over a year now, mostly veterans. And there's some truth to what the emailer says. I do find it. You've heard me, and I know it gets to the point where it's I think people are becoming I think they're as tired of me complaining about the lack of defensive effort from the Wolves as I am watching, or I'm not watching a lot, but reading about the lack of effort by the Wolves defensively. We've talked about it. They've already had two. They've already surrendered in 2 different quarters in 2 different games, or a different in a different 1 quarter in each of the last 2 games. They've given up over 40 points in a quarter. That just seems. It almost seems impossible to do. It's almost like you're playing 5-on-4 if you're giving up 40 points. In those last 2 losses, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the number by the end of the 3rd quarter, they'd already surrendered 100 points. Now, I know you don't want to compare it to playoff basketball, because once you get to playoff basketball, you have scores like 101-99 because teams buckle down. And I know that it's just the nature of the NBA, and I guess the basketball community in every market accepts the fact that teams aren't always going to play defense 100% of the time. And in some cases, I don't even know if they played 50% of the time. But, again, as I mentioned earlier in the week, look, they lost games last year they should have won. They dropped to the 6th seed. They still went to the Western Conference Finals. So, you can say, well, you can complain all you want about the defensive efforts, but really all that matters is once you get to postseason play. And even though right now I think, put it this way, if the playoffs started today, the Wolves are out. I think they're sitting at 11th in the conference. Now, the playoffs aren't starting today. We're only 5 games in, and I'm not as optimistic as Rosen. Rosen thinks they're going to be the 2nd seed in the West. I don't know if he still believes that after what he's seen.
I would guess no.
I think
now Anthony Edwards got hurt, and
I think the reason he believes that is he likes the Lexus clubs and he likes Charlie's front row seats. So I think he's certainly going to be very optimistic about the Minnesota Timberwolves. And you're right, Edwards has been hurt. And again, I don't know any further word. I skimmed again. I shouldn't just skim the sports page. I didn't see if he's going to be available. They play tomorrow night, I think. They're off again tonight. I think they play tomorrow. I think they got 2 or 3 road games now. I don't know who they have. I know they have the Nets and the Knickerbockers in 2 of the next 3 or 4 games. I don't have the schedule right in front of me. I don't have my handy-dandy pocket schedule.
We got the Hornets.
Right.
At Charlotte tomorrow night.
And then is it?
Then we're at Brooklyn.
Brooklyn for the Nets, and then it's the Knickerbockers?
Then we're at New York, yeah.
And then is there another road game after that, or do we come home?
That's it. Then we begin the group stage of the NBA
right.
Cup. We got the Jazz.
That nonsensical. Is it? And then it's so early in the season too. I don't know. I know they didn't invent this in season tournament for my benefit. I know I'm not their target market, but does the average fan get excited about that? Do they like that? Is that, and wasn't it basically, I think they admitted it was intended to get teams to try harder early in the year.
Yeah, to avoid load management.
Right, yeah. And actually try.
They wanted to make games other than the playoffs mean something.
Right, yes. That's what they decided to do, so they did this. So maybe people will get excited about it. It doesn't make never mind to me. Did we win it the first year?
No. Oh. We have not won it. I don't even know if we've made the playoff part of it.
You don't do banners if you win, though, do you?
I think the LA Lakers did, actually. I think they won the NBA Cup and then did a banner, which is ridiculous.
Do you raise a banner and storm the court? Do you do both? If you win
you definitely storm the court.
If you win the in-season tournament, because I'm not so sure that's what I.
If you have a regular season win over Charlotte, you storm the court. And that's just the way it is. And then you got kids out there having fun.
And then you got your Gopher Club just coming off the Iowa loss and the Vikings. Somebody sent a text message. Real quick, as we go to break and bring Little B in. Where did it go? It said something to the effect of this. The text messenger said, this is the worst he's felt about the local teams in a long, long time.
Well, it actually hadn't been that bad the last couple of years.
Yeah, this one says, comment, this is as hopeless as I've ever felt with every one of our sports teams, ever. You're right, last couple of years hasn't been bad, but with the way the Vikings are trending, and the Wolves, it's early, and the Wild, I know it's early, but it's lost. 1 win in the last 7 games, is it?
I don't think it's like that. It might be more than that now.
6, 7?
Might be 8.
Maybe 8. So yeah, and then the Gopher loss was just awful when you lose to Iowa like that. So we'll shift gears, Tennessee. Lil B, feminine touch of the program. The Smoke Show from Glencoe. She joins us next here on The Fan.